You bored? Good. Come hang out with me. I'm not gonna lie, I am tired this week, and I felt like I owed you a lot after the last episode. I was in a mood, I was venting, and it felt like it was a lot about me. And I wanted to do something this episode to really be helpful to you guys. But I gotta be honest, it's been a struggle to even get up here. And it got me to thinking about the process. Here's the thing. The first two episodes, as nervous as I felt like I had things to say, and I really liked the way they turned out. Well, this time I'm kind of like, ooh, what are you even talking about? And how do you think you're going to keep people's attention for longer than like 20 minutes? There's a lot of self-doubt that I've been dealing with, and it got me to thinking about the process. When I sat down to do these videos, the hardest part was by far going to be the editing. And for anyone that's vlogged or tried to create any kind of story with the camera, you know how tedious editing can be. And it sometimes is the thing that stops you from doing it completely. Now, there's a lot of really great programs and applications out there that can really help you with your editing. But ultimately, I think you just got to play around and kind of learn what works for you and what's the easiest process for you to get the work done so that you can tell the story to the best of your ability. And when I started doing this channel, I approached Final Cut Pro, which is what I've been using to edit these videos. And I had previously worked on iMovie, which is kind of a more elementary, version of Final Cut Pro. And I knew I wanted to be editing narratives and film shorts potentially. And so I said, you know what, start playing with the real thing, Final Cut Pro. That's the one of the standards. So the first time I approached it, frustrated in about 5 minutes. I didn't know how to do it. I was annoyed. I didn't give it any more of my time. The second time I tried, it got a little better, but it was still really hard. And I knew that I wasn't using it properly because it was way harder than it felt like it needed to be. Third time, I think maybe I touched on it for a couple of minutes. And then when I started working on this channel, I sat down with it. And for some reason, there was a breakthrough. And so I had these two experiences already with this vlog, where this thing that I thought was going to be really difficult and totally hold me back and be the thing that makes me feel like I need to quit, it actually is working really well. The editing is going fine. I found a way to make it go as fast as I can make it go. And then oddly enough, the thing that I never thought I would have to worry about, which is just my confidence and belief in myself that I could do this, that's the thing that's wavering. And process is such an odd thing, because some days you're flying high and you feel like you can conquer the world, and other days you feel like you need permission to even be allowed to try. And it got me thinking and wanting to ask you guys, how do you deal with the process and persist when you're out of energy, patience, and motivation? So I'm a big fan of notes in your iPhone. If you have an iPhone, if you have a Samsung, Android, whatever you have, what kind of phone, a lot of them have an app where you can take notes. And I have a running to-do list that is like never ending that I use. And that's how I keep track of the many things that I have to do, that if I don't write them down, I will most certainly forget. But even sometimes the notes to-do list gets overwhelming. Yes, you heard it. The notes to-do list can get overwhelming, and I need to do other to-do lists on top of that. And one of the things that I do is I write down on a piece of paper with a thick magic marker, not all the things that I have to get done. That's on the notes to-do list. But like 4 or 5 things I got to get done, preferably today, if not over the next 2 days. And it's always great to go into notes and to check it off when you've accomplished one of your goals, when you've got one of your to-dos to done. But these sheets of paper that I create, that I check off and chuck to the side, it's awesome when I find them because I'm always amazed at how many things on that list I accomplished. When I was having my little bout of anxiety today, because I was like, you should have done this yesterday. What are you doing? Why are you procrastinating? I decided that I was going to allow myself to have anxiety. I actually often get anxiety before I do rewrites for my scripts. Whenever I'm doing rewrites, it's almost like I've never written anything ever. And I'm just like, I don't know if we can do this. I'm like always terrified. But I've learned that I just have to have anxiety and be okay with feeling like I'm going to fail at it. Totally unfounded, mindset, but this is what anxiety is, right? It just doesn't have to have a justification or reasoning. And I get past it and then I go do my writing. And I had this moment where I was like, okay, so you got a little anxiety, you're camera shy, you put 2 auditions on tape this week, but you're camera shy. Okay, that's fine, whatever. I said, it's okay, and it's gonna pass. And you know that you're going to do this thing because that's not an option, and why would you come this far just to not do it? So just know that this is ridiculous, but have your moment if you need it. Finding your process is about making peace with those moments. The moments when you don't feel like you're learning the new app. You don't feel like you're quite good enough to keep people's attention. You don't feel like you're good enough to get the job. You don't feel like you're better than other people doing the thing. But you be okay with that and you handle your business. You do it anyway. And it doesn't even mean that you do it that day, because sometimes you really do need to walk away. And that's the craziest thing that I've learned over time. I do a lot of things that I don't want to do. I've built about 6 websites. I didn't want to build one, but I couldn't find anybody to do what I needed them to do. And after a while, I just realized I was never going to find that person. And even if I did, I wasn't prepared to spend the kind of money I would need to pay them to get a quality product. I would rather learn myself and just put the time and energy in and do the best that I can. Anywho, I've learned a lot of things that I don't necessarily want to learn. And one of the things that kept me going was just I got to get it done because this is one step in this bigger thing that I'm trying to accomplish. And just taking it little bits at a time, and especially with editing, any kind of technical thing that requires you to learn technology, you just got to take it one day at a time. And it doesn't even mean that you work on it every day. There are so many parts of accomplishing a goal or building something from scratch that you have to take on. And one of the things that I always try to do is to just hold on to my joy in the process. And what I mean by that is there's always a component of I really don't want to do this involved in anything you love. Always. Always. Even the best relationships, there's always a component. And that's the work. That's the stuff we don't want to do. But it's necessary. But what I've learned is that if you accept the fact that it's necessary, if you accept the fact that you're probably not going to love doing this part that much, if you accept the fact that you're a little insecure about doing it, or you don't really know what you're doing, if you can accept the fact that there's going to be challenge involved, you would be amazed at how quickly, when that challenge comes, it doesn't deter you. It's actually easier than you ever thought it was going to be. That said, there's going to be a part that's going to surprise you, that you thought, oh, this is the super easy part. That's like, no, this is going to kick your butt a little bit. That's the nature of process. You know, the highs, the lows, the confidence, the fear and self-loathing. But I think the more you give into that process and the more that you accept that there are going to be that moments, the less they actually bother you when they come. When we talk about the process and how frustrating it can be, one of the best ways to deal with it more is to control the controllables and find ways to have a sense of accomplishment outside of the process so that we can reinforce in ourselves that we're capable of getting the job done. And you know where I'm going with this. Of course, health is wealth. And so one of the best ways to keep a healthy state of mind when you're trying to tackle a new challenge or a part of the process that is really not enjoyable, it is to work out, to get sweaty, to relieve the stress, and to remind yourself of how amazing you are. And sometimes when you can't get it done in front of your computer, in front of an audience, in front of a buyer, in front of your boss, whomever, you can go, you can find a sense of accomplishment within yourself because you worked out and you challenge yourself in a new way and you rose to the occasion, and you'll see how that'll translate into everything you're trying to do. So it's time to make it happen. Let's do it. Health is wealth. Let's go get sweaty. Everyone always gets really caught up in like the idea of someone getting their big breakthrough. And I think it just appeals to the part of all of us that just wants the process to be over, and like we just wake up one day and we become the person we always wanted to be. But that doesn't happen for most of us. And even sometimes when it looks like it's the big breakthrough, it's low key something that's been in motion for years. We're just finding out about it because the big breakthrough is what introduces this amazing thing to the world. But the reality of success is never really in the breakthrough. It's in all those little things that you do behind the scene over and over and over for years that finally pays off. And this thing culminates into an amazing moment in a person's life, in the lifespan of the project, in the process of actualizing this dream. The best thing that exercising does is gives you a sense of self-confidence and self-belief. Being patient and waiting for your day to come when you've done all the work and all the controllables that you can possibly control, it can be an exhausting process to just wait for something to happen. But here's what you got to understand. Patience can be an act in persistence. You don't have to just sit still. You don't have to just wait for the phone to ring. You don't have to just wait for the bank to be approved. You can get that energy in motion by going and working out, by doing something totally unrelated that gives you a sense of accomplishment. Because the sense of accomplishment that you get doing that thing, the self-confidence that you build, that's another small step on the path to accomplishing your goals. It might seem silly, and it might seem like you're patting yourself on the back by doing the bare minimum, but the bare minimum adds up when you do it consistently. And you start to learn that you're capable of showing up, doing this thing you've never done, trying to accomplish what seems like an insurmountable goal. You'll start to see that you have more belief in yourself because you're showing up for yourself in other areas of your life. So you can be patient, but make it an act in persistence and do some things that are going to give you a better sense of self-appreciation and accomplishment. One of the things that I've learned practicing yoga for so many years is this idea of flow versus force. I remember there would be yoga postures that I felt good about. I practiced them, I got more flexible, they looked cool when I did them. And then there would be these postures that literally the whole class could do, and I would be the only person like, I cannot figure this thing out. My body doesn't want to do what their bodies are doing. And I remember I was at dinner with my mom, and I think a guy who was dating his mom. We were having dinner, and I was talking about the yoga posture, and I was like, yeah, I just cannot get this thing. And she said, maybe you're not supposed to get it. And I thought to myself, well, no, I want it, ergo, I should get it. I don't understand that. But it kind of stuck with me in the back of my head. And I remember a couple weeks later, I was in yoga class and I was doing the posture. I was trying, and I was failing as usual. And all of a sudden, I said, you know what? I'm not in the mood to fail at this. I'm not in the mood to do this, so I'm just gonna hang out. And I'm not gonna push this because I don't care. And the next thing I knew, I was deeper in the posture than I had ever been before. And it was like in that moment, the second I said, I don't care, I'm not forcing, I'm tired, no. Everything around me said yes. And this thing that I was forcing became this effortless endeavor. I think a lot of times when we're pursuing a goal, if we're type A personalities like myself, we just want to will it into existence, right? We just want to manipulate it. We want to ask questions. We want to study paths. We want to figure out how we can make things happen. How do we get there? How do I do this? And sometimes you can know all the steps. Then you can do everything you think is the right thing. And it still doesn't happen. And then other times you let go and you could care less because you're annoyed or you're tired or something way more important is on your plate that day. And that's when it happens with ease. Effortless. Part of the process is negotiating flow versus force and understanding that even with the best of intentions, things aren't going to always go the way you think they should or the way you plan for them to go. Because a lot of times, if you're doing a lot of great things, they're going to go so much better than you could ever imagine. So much better. And that's the joy of the journey. When you've had enough experiences like that, where you say, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work out. But you know what? Every time we had this before, some really good stuff came out of this. Flow versus force. And a sense of contentment, knowing that you can't force it. You can't change how it's going to go. It needs to happen the way it happens. So frustrating. I want to force it. Things are challenging these days for me just because I'm doing something I've never done before and I'm still unsure how people are going to receive it. But it doesn't change just putting one step in front of the next every day. And if we do something every day, like just sitting down and recording this, it's another step in the right direction of putting yourself on the right track. Controlling the controllables, accomplishing small goals at a time. So tell me one thing in the comments that you're going to do today to get you closer to accomplishing the goal. And honestly, it could be whatever. It could be I went in front of the mirror and I told myself I can do it because honestly, I just needed to hear that. Whatever it is, there's no wrong answers. And listen, I am really bad with this, but please like and subscribe to the channel. It of course helps the algorithm, and it would just be great to know that you're with me because I'm here with you, and I'm hoping you're having a much better week than I am and you're feeling excited and ready to do anything. And I hope this one was good. There's that self-doubt again. I'm sorry. I should be more positive. I hope this was as good for you as it was for me. Thank you once again for tuning in. It's a pleasure. And yeah, come back next time and let me know. Let me know in the comments. What are you doing today? Something good to get you to your next goal. Small steps. Trust in the process. I believe in you. I believe in you. Bye, guys.